Hey guys, what's up? It's Movie Buff Beth and I'm back again with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about everything that I watched in the month of September. I know this video is coming a little bit late, but you know, life's been crazy. Finally getting a chance to sit down and record this, so I hope you guys are still interested in hearing what I watched for the month of September. Around this time of year, I get really into watching horror films even more than usual, so you'll probably notice a few more horror films in this video than you have in the last few months. But it's just my favorite time of year to watch horror, and it becomes one of my main focuses of my watches. And I think we can all relate to that, where we kind of go through different phases throughout the year of things that we like to watch and different genres that we like to focus on. So yeah, as always, I will give my quick thoughts on the film, a rating, and whether or not I would recommend it to you. And I'll try to keep these short and sweet because I want to get through this video as quickly as possible. Not to keep you guys too long, but we'll go ahead and get started. First thing I watched in the month of September was actually in theaters, and it was Christopher Nolan's Tenet. This, of course, is a 2020 film, one that a lot of people have been waiting quite a while for. It was kind of touted as the first film to come to theaters post-COVID, post-quarantine shutdown at least. We're still kind of in the thick of it with COVID. It was really touted as something that would bring people to the theater. And my screening was pretty much sold out at the 40% capacity. I saw it in Dolby Cinema, which was a really fun experience. I know this movie's been met with some mixed reviews, and I can kind of understand them. You know, a lot of the complaints have been that there's not a lot of character development, not a lot of reason to care a lot about the characters or the story or what's happening, and I can definitely see that. But going in, I kind of expected that in a way. I expected there to be a lot of action, a lot of spectacle in the way that it was marketed. So I wouldn't say I was disappointed at all. I thought that it was a really fun and complex plot to follow. The sound mixing was really loud, but we also saw it in Dolby Cinema, so I don't know that I noticed it any more than any other film that I see in Dolby Cinema. I know that was a big complaint with people, is that it was mixed very loud. It was hard to hear the dialogue. I didn't notice that too much. Wasn't too big of an issue for me. I liked the loud, powerful score to the film. Overall, I was not disappointed. I think that my opinion could change on rewatch, either for the better or for the worse. I will let you guys know when I watch it again. However, on first watch, I give this one a 4.5 out of 5, and I'd recommend it if you've liked other Nolan films. The next film I watched, believe it or not, is a first-time watch, and is 1988's Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton. Growing up, this was not one that my family liked, that they liked to put on at all. And as most of you know, growing up, you don't really make the film choices, especially when you're the youngest in the family. So never saw it when I was a kid, and kind of grew up with the opinion that it was not a good film, because that was the opinion of my family. So I just never sought it out, you know, even though it's a very popular, you know, almost has a cult following nowadays, I just never really felt like watching it. And Andrew couldn't believe that. He loves this film. So when it came out on 4K, I was finally like, okay, let's watch this. Let's see what this is all about. And I'm very happy to be wrong about my expectations for this film. This was a really fun film. A very iconic film. Really fun performance from Michael Keaton, who I really enjoy. Winona Ryder was great. You know, everybody in this film was great. Just so much fun. It's definitely one I could see going back and watching again many times, probably around this time of year, September, October, fall time. Just a really fun, iconic film. And again, I'm very happy to have been wrong about this movie. So much fun. I give it a 4 out of 5. And if you guys have never seen it for some reason, definitely check it out. It's worth a watch. Next movie I watched is another 2020 film, and that is The Wretched. This is a new horror film. It did very well in the drive-in circuit, so I was very intrigued to see it. It unfortunately didn't come to my drive-in, but IFC Midnight put it out on Blu-ray, so I had to pick it up. Watched it shortly after I bought it and was not disappointed. This is a very well done modern witch story. It has some really creepy effects. The story takes some turns that I definitely wasn't expecting. Just overall, a really well done, tension-filled horror film that I would give a 4 out of 5, and I'd recommend if you like modern horror films. Next movie I watched was a rewatch of the 1981 film The House by the Cemetery. I'm a huge Fulci fan, always willing to watch one of his films. This is a great haunted house horror film. And Blue Underground did a fantastic job with the 4K. If you guys are on the fence about picking this up and you enjoy this movie, I would definitely recommend it. It is a great fun time from Fulci. This is another one I would give 4 out of 5. The next movie I watched was actually on Netflix, and that is 2020's I'm Thinking of Ending Things. This is of course directed by Charlie Kaufman. It was a highly anticipated film for me. I will admit, on first watch, I'm a little bit disappointed, but I will also say that I was not quite prepared for the complexity of the film. There were so many references that just went right over my head. So I definitely need to go back and watch this one again because there's so much to like and so much to dissect here, that it's one that I think I need to be wide awake for and well prepared to watch. And you know, going back and watching again, I know what I'm in for. I can watch for more clues and more details and try to understand some of the symbolism. I really do enjoy complex films like this, but you do have to be in the right mood for it, and I definitely wasn't. Overall, I would give it a 4 out of 5 on first watch. Could definitely see that rating going up in the future, and I would recommend this film to you if you like complex films or you like things by Charlie Kaufman, which I definitely do. So definitely give this one a watch again, but again, there's a lot to like here, a lot to dig into. Next movie was another rewatch. This is 2018's Black Panther. Surely you guys have heard of it. After Chadwick Boseman's passing, I had to go back and watch this great film again. Definitely one of my favorite Marvel films. I'm not the world's biggest Marvel fan, but there are a lot of films to like in the universe, and this is definitely one of them. I give this one an easy 4.5 out of 5. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. One of my goals this Halloween season is to watch some horror series, and I've talked about this a little bit in some of my other videos. And I haven't been keeping up with it as much as I would like to, but I have watched a few horror series that I haven't seen before, and it's been a lot of fun. One of the first series that I decided to sit down and watch all in a row is the Poltergeist series. Now, I've seen the first film before, never seen the sequels. So of course we have 1982's Poltergeist. This is a beautiful steelbook. I think I got this from Zavvi several years ago. Either way, this movie grows on me every single time I watch it. There's a lot to like here. Just a classic, well done horror film. It's not very gory. It's a great like entry-level horror film that has a lot of good scares. Just a classic 80s horror movie. I like this one a lot, and I give it a 4 out of 5 and would definitely recommend it if you have never seen it. So the next one we watched was 1986's Poltergeist 2: The Other Side. This is released by Scream Factory. I had never seen this one before. Although it's not as good as the original, it was better than I was expecting it to be. A lot of cool characters, just a fun time. This one I'd probably give a 3.5 out of 5. Doesn't live up to kind of the epic, iconic level of the original film, but still well worth a watch. And then we have Poltergeist 3. This one came out in 1988. I enjoyed this one not nearly as much as the first two. It definitely had some things to like, but also a lot more flaws than the other two. I'd probably give this one a 3 out of 5. Overall, just a really fun horror series to watch, and I would definitely recommend checking them out. And they all star the same lead girl, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'd recommend it if you guys are interested in them. Now, I'm not going to talk about the next several movies that I watched because it was kind of a marathon of a series that I've been meaning to watch for a long time, and that is the Amityville series. Now, I'm going to go ahead and link above my Amityville ranking. I talk about each movie kind of in depth, and I give a ranking of the series, and I would really appreciate it if you guys would go check that out and let me know if there's any other rankings you guys want to see in the future. So I won't go into them here, but go check that out if you want to hear my thoughts on the Amityville series. The next film I watched, I believe this is a 2020 film. It says 2019 on Letterboxd, but I believe it was released theatrically here in the US in 2020, and that is Kelly Reichardt's First Cow. This was a highly anticipated film for me. I have really been enjoying getting into Kelly Reichardt's filmography. I think she's a great director. I don't think her work is for everyone, but if you watch any of her films and you've liked them, I think that you should definitely check out her others. First Cow was very well done. One thing that I really appreciate about her films is she finds the beauty in the quiet moments, the beauty in just normal, everyday slice of life experiences. And First Cow is the perfect example of this. I just thought this was a relaxing, nice, just feel-good movie to watch. You know, it seems like a somewhat insignificant story, but then you find that there's a lot of significance in, again, those simple, quiet moments. And this is a really well done film. I'd give this one a 4.5 out of 5. Love this movie. The next two are kind of silly watches, but in the spirit of Halloween, had to throw them on. This first one is a rewatch. This is The Legend of Halloween Jack. Let's see, it came out in 2018. This is one of those direct-to-disc horror films. This is definitely a story we've seen before. If you've ever seen the movie Dark Night of the Scarecrow, I feel like it is a much better done version of this movie. Very low budget, subpar performances. There are some fun kills in this movie. I think that's the big redeeming quality of it. Overall, I give it 2.5 out of 5. The next one we watched was 2019's The Curse of Halloween Jack, which is another direct-to-disc sequel. This one took everything that was good about the original and took it out, and just was not even really worth our time at all. I'd probably give this between 1 and 1.5 stars. Just not a very well done horror film. And even if it's low budget, even if it has kind of cruddy performances, I think there can still be a lot of fun in these direct-to-disc horror movies. Just not a lot there in this one. Next movie I watched was 2010's Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I'd never seen the original, so I didn't know too much about the story. But yeah, this is a really fun horror film. Definitely underrated. I haven't heard it talked about very much. But if you're into monster films or kind of Guillermo del Toro style fantasy horror, I would definitely recommend this one. It didn't quite go as far as I think it could have with the subject matter and with the creatures. I think they could have done a little bit more with the story. That was probably my biggest flaw with it though, and I give this a 4 out of 5. And if you're into creature features, definitely give it a look. Another Kelly Reichardt film for me, this is 2013's Night Moves. After loving First Cow so much, I had to watch another one of her films, and this one I was equally in love with. I know a lot of people say this is one of her lesser films, but I honestly would have to disagree with that. Again, her films are less about the plot, less about, complex storylines, and more about the characters. And I tend to really appreciate that in film, and this movie is a really good example of that. This one's a little bit more of a thriller compared to some of her other movies that are maybe more just drama character studies, but this one has some thriller elements in it. Again, great focus on the characters, great focus on the quiet moments and the psychological, and I enjoyed this one a lot. This is another one I give a 4.5 out of 5. This next one is also a rewatch, one of my favorite modern horror films, and that is It. This one, of course, came out in 2017. I was very excited for this movie, and I have to say it did not let me down at all. Maybe not as scary as it could have been, however, it was a really fun modern adaptation of the Pennywise character, and a really well done coming of age tale as well. This one I give a 4.5 out of 5. I love this movie. And then although it didn't quite live up to the original, I still really enjoyed this one, and that is It Chapter 2. I know a lot of people had a lot of issues with this one. I feel like it was pretty true to the source material, at least compared to the miniseries. I haven't read the book yet, but I feel like this definitely had that Stephen King feel to it. And maybe that didn't work too well with the modern audiences, I don't know. And again, it's not as good as the first film, but it's still a lot of fun, a lot of cool Stephen King effects. I really liked the casting that they went with the adult characters. Overall, the child characters are more interesting and more fun, but I did like the adult cast as well. This one I would give a 4 out of 5. Alright, this next one I believe is a 2018 film. However, it just hit Blu-ray. It is a Shudder original, and that is Terrified. Hadn't heard a ton about this one, but I'm always willing to pick up these Shudder original horror films. And I have to say, this was a fantastic horror movie. No pun intended, but this movie truly terrified me. This has to be one of the scariest movies I've seen in a long time. A really original concept. I won't go into the story too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say this has some really effective scares, a very creepy storyline, great performances. Definitely recommend checking this one out. If you're a horror fan, I give this one a 4.5 out of 5. This next one is another rewatch, and it's from 1983, and that is John Carpenter's Christine. This is a classic horror movie. I've always loved this movie. I love movies where they're haunted like inanimate objects, and Christine is no exception. This is an underrated John Carpenter film. I think it's just a lot of fun, great performances, classic 80s horror movie. Definitely check it out if you haven't. This one I'd give a 4.5 out of 5. Next movie was a long overdue first time watch for me, and that is 1989's Little Monsters. I really wish I would have seen this one when I was a kid, because I know for a fact I would have loved it. I think there would be a lot of nostalgia there for me now. With that being said though, I still did enjoy it as an adult. I would have enjoyed it more if I saw it when I was a kid, but there's a lot to enjoy here. Really charming performances from Fred Savage and Howie Mandel, and it was fun to see Ben Savage in there as well. Overall, just a fun, kind of spooky movie, one that kids could definitely enjoy, and I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. I have every intention of ranking this next horror universe sometime in the month of October. Again, life's been a little crazy, and I haven't been able to keep up on YouTube as much as I would like, but I will try to get this video out by the end of October. Don't hold me to it, but I will try. And that's the Conjuring Universe. I love these movies, especially the Conjuring films. They're easily the best in the series. This one came out in 2013. I didn't see it in theaters. However, my mom was like, you have to come home this weekend and watch The Conjuring with me. And I'm like, okay. So I went home and I watched it with her, and I was like, okay, that was a fantastic horror film. Probably one of the best modern horror films that I've seen. Great performances from Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson as the Warrens. I think that they do a really great job in their characters. This movie is just very creepy, very effective. You know, it's something that we've seen before, but they do it in such a great and effective way that you can't help but watch, and the characters are so likable. You know, it's almost heartwarming when you get a happy ending out of these horror films, and I think that says a lot to the character development, and I just really enjoy these movies. Some of my favorite modern horror films, and I will talk more about them in my Conjuring Universe ranking if I do it sometime this month, but this one I give it 4.5 out of 5. And of course we watched The Conjuring 2. There's a lot to like here. Not quite as good as the original, but still very good. The opening scene where it begins in Amityville is just so creepy, so well done, and the Valak character is very cool. Another great entry in the universe, and this one I give a 4.5 out of 5 as well. And that one came out in 2016. So if you hear meowing in the background, cats are all very needy. Next movie I watched, this is a rewatch. This one has been one of my favorites probably since it came out in 2005, and that is The Skeleton Key. Andrew had never seen this one, and I was really keen to show it to him because, again, this one is just one of my favorites. Does not get talked about enough, to be honest. Has a great twist, one that I did not see coming at all, and Andrew said he didn't see it coming either when he watched it this time. But yeah, just a really creepy horror film. Lots of fun. This one I give a 4 out of 5. To really get in the fall spirit, we watched 2019's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I went into this a little bit nervous, to be honest, because I loved the stories growing up. I loved the books. I loved reading them, and you know, they meant a whole lot to me, so I really did not want them to mess it up. And I think they did a pretty decent job of living up to the classic books, and I think they did the best they could. However, I think that this is really well done. There's a lot to like here, and this one I give a 4 out of 5. Next movie I watched, another rewatch, and that is 1981's Hell Night. This is a really fun movie with Linda Blair. A great haunted house tale, a great one to get you in the mood for the Halloween season. Lots of fun. If you've never seen it, definitely check it out. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. Next movie I watched was on HBO Max, and that is 2020's Unpregnant. Another one of my favorite films of the year. Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always deals with the subject matter of abortion, and I think that this movie takes a little bit more of a lighthearted approach to it, and in that way I feel like it's really effective. I feel like this is a movie that a teenager could watch and find themselves, you know, in these characters. I think the characters are extremely likable. There's some really over-the-top scenes, over-the-top scenarios, but it's just so much fun. And again, the chemistry between the two leads is just undeniable. Lots of fun. Really a great film that I would definitely recommend. And I would really like to see Haley Lou Richardson in more. I think she's a great actress, and this one I give a 4 out of 5. Next movie I watched was 1953's Roman Holiday. Wanted to see this one for a long time because I heard it was so great with Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn. I will say I didn't enjoy this one as much as I had hoped. Maybe I went in with too high of expectations, but it was pretty fun. Great chemistry between the two leads, just not quite as great as I was expecting. Overall, I'd give this a 3.5 out of 5. Next movie I watched, this is a horror film that's been on my watch list for quite a while. This one came out in 1982, and that is The Entity. This movie was very scary, very effective, pretty disturbing to be honest. Kind of a psychosexual horror film where the demon pretty much sexually assaults our main character. And for quite a while in the movie, nobody even believes that this is happening. And it's pretty terrifying. Just a really well done horror film. Probably one of the scariest movies I've seen to come out from the 80s. And they do say it's based on true events. Don't know how true that is, but if that is true, that's pretty creepy. So yeah, very well done horror film, 4 out of 5 for me. Next movie I watched is a Wes Craven film that I had no idea was directed by Wes Craven, and it came out in 1995, and that is Vampire in Brooklyn. I will say this one, not a great movie by any means. You have to love Eddie Murphy and Angela Bassett. They're really likable. However, the movie just pretty much falls short on all accounts. Very cheesy, kind of entertaining, but overall not a very memorable movie. This one I give 2.5 out of 5. Next movie I watched is 2005's Feast. Never seen this one before, had heard some good things about it. I think this was a great creature feature that was pretty self-aware, kind of satirical in a lot of ways, just a lot of fun, and definitely one I could see myself watching again. I give this one a 4 out of 5. Next movie I watched was 2020's Becky. This is from the same director as Cooties, so going in I was already excited for this because I think Cooties is a really fun movie, but I enjoyed this one a lot. It was really fun seeing Kevin James in a kind of creepy role, and Lulu Wilson, definitely an up-and-coming star. She's been in a lot of great horror movies and can definitely see her having a great career. There's some really cringy gore scenes in this movie. Definitely doesn't hold back at all. I just thought it was a lot of fun. Not super original, but a lot of fun. This I give 4 out of 5. The next movie I saw is a 2020 film, saw it in theaters, and that is The Broken Hearts Gallery. Of course, we are all just kind of hoping that more and more things come to the theater, and this one I didn't know much about, but I was like, looks pretty cute. I like the two leads, so I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and give it a shot. And boy, am I glad I went and saw this movie. I absolutely loved it. Spoiler alert, this is easily my favorite thing that I watched in September. It was just so charming. It was very sex positive, very inclusive film. It took a lot of risks story-wise that I really appreciated. And yeah, it may be a little bit cheesy and hokey at times, but it really is just a rom-com to remind you why you love rom-coms, and just so much to like here. Great performances. I hope to do a video in the future kind of diving into this one a little bit more, as well as talking about some of my other favorite romantic comedies. So hopefully that's forthcoming. Again, kind of life has been a little unpredictable lately, but if you guys are interested in that video, please let me know. Again, this is a great rom-com, loved it. 4.5 out of 5 for me. Next movie I watched is 1997's Orgasmo, a Trey Parker film. Had never seen this one before. It was a lot of fun, really fun satire. Definitely enjoyed it. I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. Next I had a little double feature with 2017's The Babysitter. This was a rewatch. Really fun horror comedy. You got Samara Weaving. So much fun. Lots of blood, lots of gore. Lots to like about this movie. This one I give a 4 out of 5. And of course I had to watch it in preparation for the sequel, The Babysitter Killer Queen. This is a 2020 film. Takes place a few years after the events of the original. Our lead character has grown up quite a bit. Samara Weaving not really in this movie. She's in it a little bit. So that's one of the main flaws of it, but I think that it was a pretty good follow-up Doesn't quite live up to the original, but still a lot of fun to be had in this movie. I give this a 3.5 out of 5. Sorry guys, just trying to fly through these so I don't keep you guys too long. Next movie I watched is 1996's Bulletproof. I went into this one with pretty high expectations, given that I love Damon Wayans and 1990s Adam Sandler was the best. However, this one, not quite as funny as I think I had hoped. Maybe if I go back and watch it again with different expectations, kind of knowing what I'm in for, maybe I'll enjoy it more. But on first watch, I'd probably give it around a 3 out of 5. Next movie I watched was on Hulu, and that is 2020's Shirley. I think that Elizabeth Moss is fantastic. I think that she's probably one of the best actresses performing today, and this movie was no exception. She was fantastic in this role. This movie was very understated, very much focused on the characters and the performances, and for that reason I liked it quite a bit. There were a lot of unanswered questions, which sometimes is frustrating, but in the case of this film, I think that it benefited the story. Overall, I thought it was a great film with a great performance from Elizabeth Moss. An easy 4 out of 5 for me. This next movie is another rewatch, one that I really wanted Andrew to see, and that is 1975's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's kind of heavy, sorry guys. Big old box set from Walmart. Just a fantastic film that really goes into mental illness and the impact that your environment can have on you. Just a really fantastic performance from Jack Nicholson, probably his best performance, even above The Shining. Kind of a tragic movie, but just such a good and important film that I would recommend to all of you. Give it a 5 out of 5. This next movie is probably one of my favorite discoveries of the month, and that is 1995's Dolores Claiborne. There are so many Stephen King movies to check out, sometimes you just don't even know where to start. But my friend recommended this one to me, and I've always been a big Jennifer Jason Leigh as well as Kathy Bates fan, so I finally sat down and gave this one a watch. Fantastic, fantastic film. Definitely one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, and I definitely want to go back and read the book now. But such an intriguing story, carried by fantastic performances from both of them, and I just really enjoyed this film, and I'd recommend it to you guys for sure. It's not really a horror film, more of a drama thriller, but I still definitely recommend it. This I give a 4 out of 5. Next movie I watched was Keep Watching. I believe this one came out in 2017. Pretty cheesy, hokey horror film. I feel like it's something that I've seen before, but it had some fun plot devices. Don't want to go into the plot too much because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, just a cheesy, fun time horror movie. Probably give this one a 2.5 out of 5. Next movie I watched was a rewatch, and that is 2008's Quarantine. I saw this one before I saw the Record movies. I saw this one probably when it came out in theaters or around that time, and I've always really enjoyed this. I think it's a well done found footage film. Definitely doesn't really hold a candle to the Record movies now that I've seen those, but standing on its own, I think that it's a well done horror movie. Some really creepy scenes. I like that you're trapped in the apartment building with the characters, and it's a very claustrophobic horror film. Overall, I really like this movie. Give this a 3.5 out of 5. Next movie I watched was on streaming, and that is 1983's Something Wicked This Way Comes. This is one of those 80s Disney horror films. I hope they bring this out on Blu-ray soon, because I loved this movie. And it was a lot creepier than I expected it to be, especially it being a Disney property. But just a really eerie film, really creepy setting. You know, just a carnival suddenly appears overnight, and definitely some creepy elements there. But yeah, I enjoyed this film a lot. I give it a 4 out of 5. Definitely a lot scarier than I expected it to be. Next movie I saw in theaters, and that is 2020's Kajillionaire. I was definitely looking forward to this one because I'm a big Miranda July fan. I've enjoyed both of her other films, watched them recently in preparation for this movie, and this movie did not let me down at all. Evan Rachel Wood was so good in this film. She was pretty much unrecognizable. But yeah, Evan Rachel Wood was fantastic in this movie, as was Gina Rodriguez, and then also Deborah Winger and Richard Jenkins as her parents. They were fantastic as well. I think going into this movie, you have to kind of know what you're in for, especially with Miranda July's style. It's very quirky, very out there, and this movie is no exception. I think you have to be prepared for that. But if you like quirky indie films with fantastic performances, I definitely would recommend this one. I give this one a 4.5 out of 5. Definitely one of my favorites from 2020. Next was another rewatch, another one of my favorite horror remakes, and that is 2005's House of Wax. I saw this one shortly after it came out. Maybe I saw it in theaters, I don't remember. But I've always loved this movie. A lot of fun. Such a creepy setting. I don't want to go into the plot because I don't want to spoil the twist ending. But such a creepy setting. So cool. Love this movie. Always have. Always will. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. And then the last movie I watched in September, I had to check out the other Disney horror movie from the 80s. This one came out in 1980, and that is The Watcher in the Woods. I've actually seen it once before. I think I watched it at school. Didn't really remember it. As far as comparing it to the other Disney horror movie from the 80s, Something Wicked This Way Comes, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as that one, but this one was also very creepy, a lot creepier than you would expect it to be. I definitely wouldn't see Disney doing a scary horror film like this nowadays, especially with the Disney label. But this one was enjoyable as well. I give this a 3.5 out of 5. So I think I kind of made it pretty clear that what my favorite and least favorite were of the month. However, I will remind you guys that Broken Hearts Gallery is absolutely worth seeking out. If it's still playing in theaters near you, definitely go see it. Real quick before I leave you guys, I'm going to talk about 2 TV shows that I watched in the month of September. First one is a mini series that I've been meaning to watch for quite some time. Not sure why it took me so long, but that is Sharp Objects. Amy Adams is hands down one of my favorite actresses. She's so fantastic in everything that I've seen her in. Back to when I first fell in love with her in Enchanted. But this was a great mini-series. This is from the same author that did Gone Girl, and for that reason I was interested in it. And then also you got Amy Adams. But it was a very interesting mystery thriller series. And in fact, I've started to read the book because I loved the story so much, and Amy Adams was fantastic in this. So good. A very understated performance, but so good. If you guys haven't watched it yet, get on HBO Max and check it out. It's a 5 out of 5 series, and it doesn't take too long to watch. Again, it's a mini series, has a beginning and an end, and it's very good. And the ending will shock you. And then the other series I finally got around to watching, and I didn't expect to watch it as quickly as I did, but I binged all 4 seasons in just a few days, and that is Insecure. I don't own it on physical media. I checked it out on HBO Max, but I have every intention of picking them up on Blu-ray now. I was interested in this show for 2 reasons. One being my coworker said it's great, you gotta check it out. The other one being I love Issa Rae. I think she is just a lot of fun to watch on screen, and this was no exception. This is the best I've seen her in. And Insecure is a very well-written series. It doesn't necessarily end on cliffhangers, but you become so invested and interested in these characters that you want to keep watching, and you want to see what happens with these characters. And I think that's a testament to how well the writing is, and yeah, it's just a great series. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Probably a 4.5 out of 5, if not a 5 out of 5. Definitely looking forward to more seasons of that in the future, which are hopefully upcoming. But I want to thank you guys for watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications when we upload new videos. We'll try to get back to uploading them regularly. Sorry we haven't been, but we appreciate all of your support. Comment down below with what you guys watched in September. What are you guys watching this month in October? Let me know. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.